folks, it's Kikoskia here. The Grand Tournament has finally released, and with it comes 132 new cards of neutral variety and of class variety that focus on a new mechanic. Two new mechanics, in fact, primarily. The first one being the Inspire mechanic, which is a new keyword, which means that the ability that Inspire is linked to on a minion activates only when you use your hero power. And Joust, a mechanic where, when a card comes into play, a minion in this case, two cards from one from each deck, yours and your opponent's, are revealed, and the one with the highest mana cost wins the Joust. Both of these mechanics, along with various other cards that have been released, they believe have the intention of wanting to slow down the game, as well as provide more options for you to actually play many different kinds of decks. Every class has one legendary, with the exception of Hunter, that has two legendaries. And there are also 10 neutral legendaries, as well as various commons, rares, and epics. I was going to record this video on the day of the release, but the latency on the servers was such that I was entirely unable to do so. Also, those packs have been shaking ever since I opened up this screen. They just don't stop. They're like, we must shake. And then they wait a little while, and then they're like, we must shake! Also, I like the design of them, the sort of castle-y motif, as well as the canvas-style material, as if it was being built out of a tent from the Grand Tournament. So, without further ado, we have 78 packs. Let's start opening them, and let's hope the latency isn't that bad that it won't actually let me open them in any particular speed. Drag the card over, and the first one has been opened, with a nice shower of petals. Well, normal, 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 and a rare. Pretty common pack. Here is the Wild Walker, a 4/4 for 4, whose battle cry is give a friendly beast +3 health for the Druid. The Druids are getting quite a few cards that have beast synergy. The beast synergy is actually quite strong. I mean, there's another card that hopefully I'm going to see here that will have very good synergy with Druids with the beast mechanic, and a 4/4 for 4 is nothing to complain about. It's not a beast itself, but imagine, if you will, if you put out your Druid of the Claw, a 4/6 with Taunt, and then next turn you put out a Wild Walker. Now it's a 4/9 with Taunt, and +3 health is not that terrible. All in all, pretty decent card. The Frigid Snowbolt, a 2/6 for 4 with spell damage +1. Do you want more spell damage cards? Here's one right here, and it's got a pretty nice stat array. 2/6 is pretty hard to get rid of just by throwing one minion into it. The 2 attack means it can kill most 3/2s, so this thing will trade 2 for 1 with 3/2s. The +1 spell damage, quite nice. It gives you a sort of middling alternative for spell damage, because previously you've had the Kobold Geomancer, which is a 2/2 for 2, the Dalaran Mage, which is a 1/4 for 3, and the Ogre Magi, which is a 4/4 for 4. This is a 2/6 for 4, it's just slightly moved the stats around. For a different style of play, it'll get killed by Shadow Word Pain, it'll get stolen by a Cabal Shadow Priest, but you could also reversing switch that into a 6/2. Overall, a not bad alternative if you want a sort of middling spell damage. The Warhorse Trainer, a Paladin common. 2/4 for 3. Have you wanted a raid leader that only works for the Silverhand Recruit? This is the card for you. It only works with the Silverhand Recruit, yes, which means your hero power is primarily the only thing that's gonna gain from this, but it does have 2 more health in return. Not many people are excited about this. I could see some use with this. I mean, if you have a lot of things that you get a lot of these on the board, you use a Quartermaster to make them 3/3s, this will make them 4/3s. Admittedly, a raid leader will also make them 4/3s as well, but a Warhorse Trainer is slightly more likely to survive on the battlefield. Not a bad card. Most of these cards actually aren't bad. There are a few cards that aren't exciting, but they're all interesting, and I believe for me a lot of them are sort of lateral upgrades rather than literal upgrades, as in they do different things and aren't necessarily better than the previous expansion. There are some cards that are just really good. Next card. Druid of the Saber. Another Druid card. Would you like the option of either getting a Murloc with charge or a 2/3 with stealth? It's like, would you like a Gilblin Stalker or would you like a Murloc Charger? This is your card. And I do believe they turn into beasts as well, so you could play this on turn 2 and coin this out on turn 4. Pretty much it's which card would you like for versatility. One of them is a Charger, and the other one is a Stealth. The Charge one I don't see many people using as much because of the Druid's hero power, but it does deal 2 damage rather than 1. The Stealth one, you could just put a Gilblin in, but there is versatility, and choose one is a Druid's mechanic. It's not a terrible card. And the Spawn of Shadows. Not exactly the first one that I thought I'd see in this. It is a 5/4 for 4 for the Priest, a rare. Inspire, which is the first Inspire card we've seen. Deal 4 damage to each hero. Ouch. I think the idea behind this is that you'll be healing yourself for 2, and this will deal 4 damage to both heroes. But it will only deal 2 damage to you because you have healed yourself for 2. It's sort of like a you're on the clock scenario. It's not going to be really good against a deck that's just going to rush you down because you're doing its job for it and hurting yourself. But it could work against decks that require a much slower pace of play. You could just slowly wear your opponent down with attrition. Bearing in mind, Inspire only works with your hero power. It doesn't work with theirs. But I don't see myself using that, and there might be a deck built with it in there, but unlikely, I think. But I can always be surprised. You never know. First pack down. We have 77 left to go. Ooh, 77. Okay, what do we got? Normal, 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 and another rare in exactly the same place. Flash Heal. Here's your priestly answer to anyone trying to rush you down really hard. A 1 mana restore 5 health. Or, more interestingly, with an Arcanine Soul Priest, a 1 mana deal 5 damage. That is quite possibly the best card for dealing damage in the game with an Arcanine Soul Priest. A 5 mana, 3/5, deal 5 damage. Admittedly spread over 2 cards, but that's really going to slow down some people's attempts to kill you if you can heal 10 health with 2 mana. Dragonhawk Rider. Now, imagine a Whirling Zap-O-Matic, which costs more, or a Thralmar Farseer, which has slightly more health, well, slightly more attack rather, but you can only use the Wind Fury ability when you use your hero power. It's interesting. You're not going to be trading this into 3 attack minions because you might as well just put down a Thralmar Farseer, but you could hit face for 6. Or you could kill 2 2/3s with this, but only when you hero power. This is where the Inspire mechanic is trying to slow things down by going, you can put this 3/3 down. It's not as good as a 3/4, the Spider Tank, on turn 3, but if it survives, and you hero power instead of playing a 4-cost minion, you play a 2-cost minion and hero power, you can attack twice with this and deal 6 damage. Or you could play the Whirling Zap-O-Matic as the Shaman, and you could do that anyway. But it only has 2 health as opposed to this one's 3, which means that this has slightly more survivability. Overall, it's a situational card. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. I don't think I'll personally be using it. Let's go to the next one. Undercity Valiant. It's a 3/2 for 2 whose combo is deal 1 damage. Remember the Ironforged Rifleman? The 2/2 for 3 that deals 1 damage? This is a higher statted version of it that costs less, but you have to combo it. it does provide an interesting alternative to the coin Defias Ringleader back in vanilla Hearthstone days. You could coin Undercity Valiant, get a 3-2 and deal 1 damage to anything of your choice, effectively clearing a minion. Not a bad card. You wouldn't be unhappy placing that down on turn 2 as a 3-2 just by itself. You'd be happier if, say, you backstabbed something and then dealt 1 damage. Not bad. Not bad at all. King's Elec. Now, Hunters get a fair few good cards here, and this is one of them. A 3-2 beast for 2 with the first Joust mechanic card that we've seen in these packs so far. Reveal a minion in each deck. If yours costs more, draw it. So if you have a really expensive minion in there, like say King Crush for instance, and that comes out on the Joust, and the enemy only has a Leper Gnome, you win, and you get a 3-2 on the board for 2, and you draw King Crush. You don't draw just the next card in your deck, you draw that card. Admittedly, the downside of that is that your opponent knows you've drawn that card, but if it's King Crush, that's irrelevant, because he'll put down taunts and you will crush him with the might of King Crush. Very good card, King's Elec. Very good card. I can see people using that as a sort of card draw, and if that fails, it's a 3-2 for 2. That's still a really good stat line for a 2-cost minion. Finally, the other Druid Beast card, the Savage Combatant. A 5-4 for 4, whose Inspire is give your hero +2 attack this turn. That's a really good ability, and I don't know if that synergizes with other heroes. For instance, if you were to copy that with a mirror entity, would using your hero power as a mage give you +2 attack? It might very well do so. It doesn't say it doesn't. This would be a better card if it was a 4-5, but I think it would actually be too good if it was a 4-5. 5-4 is a little weaker to being cleared by a 3-cost minion. But ideally, you play this on turn 6, not 4. You play it on turn 6, you hero power as a druid, and you gain 1 armor and 3 attack. That's really good. You could actually see people potentially starting to use, like, Savagery as a card. Now you have a 7 damage combo, which is play this minion, get 3 attack, and then deal 3 more damage to a minion. That's not bad. Plus a 5-4, nothing to complain at. Nothing to complain at all. Interestingly, Arena's going to be substantially changed by this as well, because now there's 132 new cards, which means you're less likely to draw Fireballs and Flame Strikes and Spider Tanks, and there are these new cards. It's going to severely change the Arena. It might make it a lot harder to win, actually. Win consistently, because the new cards change the dynamic so much. We'll have to see how that goes. Considering I can't really get over 3 wins in Arena anyway, it's not going to make much difference to me. There's a rare, and just a rare. Mookla's Champion, a 4-3 beast, whose Inspire gives your other minions +1/+1. Bearing in mind it says other minions, all of them. That's pretty good. Play that on turn 7 with a board full of minions, and you have a 4-3 for 5 that just buffed every other minion on the board by +1/+1. And it'll keep doing that. Every turn you slowly whittle them down with buffing your minions over and over. Good card. This is the first one of the Inspire ones we've seen, though, that has a not fantastic stat line for its cost. A 4-3 for 5 is not great if you just played it and never got to use its hero power. It's effectively a cheaper, a more expensive version of, say, a Spellbreaker that wouldn't get to taunt anything. But if you manage to actually use its hero power, it's a good card, which is what they're, I believe, intending to do. They're intending to make people want to use their hero power, slow down the game, get a benefit for doing so. Like the Brave Archer here, a 2-1 for 1 Hunter Common, whose Inspire is, if your hand is empty, you deal an extra 2 damage to the enemy hero. If you're against the ropes and you're basically top decking, this isn't a bad card to see, because you will play it, your hero power, and you're dealing 4 damage to your enemy hero rather than 2. It is a 2-1 for 1, which means you can play it on turn 1, but you'd actually prefer to see that card later. Not a bad card. We seem to be getting a lot of Druid cards these days. Here's one of the better ones, in my opinion. Living Roots. Choose one. Deal 2 damage, aka like an arcane shot from a hunter, or summon 2 1/1s. That's pretty good. So you have the versatility of either getting rid of a 2-drop minion a 2 health minion that they've thrown down, or you can summon 2 1/1s. Both of which are actually pretty good at dealing with very early aggression. Your opponent has you go first. You play this 2 1/1s. If your opponent decides he's going to play 2 1/1 minion, 2 2/1 minions by coining out on turn 1, you can just kill them. Or if he coins out a 3/2 minion, you can just kill it with Living Roots. If you have 2 Living Roots, you could kill it and summon 2 1/1s. Very versatile card, very good card. I see this getting a lot of play. Dalaran Aspirant. A mage common. Inspire. Gain +1 spell damage. It's a 3/5 for 4, nothing to complain about. You play it on turn 6. You hero power, it becomes a 3/5 with spell damage +1. This keeps stacking as far as I know. If you hero power again, it becomes spell damage +2, and then spell damage +3, and then spell damage +4. You could really, really go out of control with this card. Of course, he could then just get killed, but it's a 3/5 for 4. Not a terrible stat line. I mean, Sen'jin has that and has Taunt, and Sen'jin still is a pretty reliable body on the board. You could see a lot of spell damage mage decks coming about now with a lot of the cards that they're releasing. Here is the other mage card that I'm pretty interested in. Polymorph Boar. Have you ever been angry that your opponent has summoned Huffer all the time? Now you too can summon Huffer. You can transform any minion, yours or theirs, into Huffer. Interestingly, you could play a charge minion, like Leroy Jenkins, and charge it out for 6 damage, and then polymorph it into a 4/2 boar with charge, which will also be able to attack. So you can have an 8 mana deal 10 damage combo. You can use this either to buff your own minions, or you can use it to basically silence your enemy's minions by turning it into a boar, and then killing it, hopefully. Don't do it if you really don't want it to remain a boar and you can't kill it, but I suppose a boar is better than Ragnaros. Or many other legendaries. Not sure I'd turn Blood Mage Thalnos into a boar, that almost seems like a buff. Next pack. What have we got? Normal, normal, a rare. Another rare. Hello, North Sea Kraken. The solution to if you want a high cost card and you don't have any legendaries. A 9/7 who deals 4 damage for 9? That's not a bad body on the board. It's nasty, it's threatening, and even if it gets killed on the turn it's placed by a big game hunter, you've still dealt 4 damage. This could still win you a game. And it's nasty. I mean, a 9/7 if you just placed down on the board and killed one of his 4 health minions. That's a scary prospect. It's also another target to bait out big game hunter, polymorphs, and silencing it is useless because it's a battle cry, so you've silenced it. It's still a 9/7 for 9. A nice sturdy card that fills a niche. Very nice. Tuskar Totemic, one of 2 Tuskar cards in 3 Tuskar cards actually in this expansion. It is a 3/2 for 3 Shaman card, which summons any random totem. Really good card. At the worst, it's going to summon a 1/1, which makes it like the Razorfen Hunter, but with a 3/2 stat line. At best, it could summon a Manatite totem. It could summon a Flame Tongue totem. It could summon one of the new totem released for Shaman, which is amazing. And if it summons that, which I believe is about... it's not too bad an odds of doing so. It's a really good card. I see this getting a lot of play. Is it Gavaldir? I think it's Gavaldir. Gavaldir Raider. A 4/4 for 5. Not a good stat line. If you play it on turn 7, it becomes a 4/4 for 5 that when you've hero powered, becomes a 6/6. And then you hero power again, and it becomes an 8/8. And then you hero power again, and it becomes a 10/10. This is an imminent threat on the board that your opponent will want to deal with, even as a 4/4 for 5, because they don't want you hero powering to buff it. It's like an ancient what? It's like the Warlock card, that when your hero is damaged on your turn, it gets +2/+2, except you're hero powering to gain this benefit. Interestingly, if you played this in a Warlock deck, it would effectively work exactly the same. You gain +2/+2 for using your hero power, but not for damaging yourself, which is not so bad. Overall, bit of a slow card, but once it gets going, it gets going. And there's another one! His brother was invited to the tournament as well. Here is another Savage Combatant. Not bad, now I have 2 of them. Okay, next deck. What have we got? A normal, a rare, a normal, and 2 rares this time. Another Dalaran Aspirant. Ancestral Knowledge. Have you ever wanted Arcane Intellect, but not as good? Shamans really have a problem with card draw. Not many of their cards give them card draw, and this is the sort of solution to Shamans. The downside, you're paying 2 mana on that turn to draw 2 cards, and then you're paying another 2 mana next turn. It's Arcane Intellect that costs 1 more. Not that great. But for Shamans, it's a card that actually gives them a reliable card draw. So for Shamans, it's okay, but I don't see myself using it, even though I'd be running low on cards. Another Windwalker. Hello, Argent Lance. A paladin weapon. Battle Cry. It provokes a joust, and if you win, it gets +1 durability. Not that great. You could see it in a dragon deck, where you have a lot of high-cost minions, but a 2/2 for 2 weapon, we've seen it in Glaive Zuka for the Hunter, and it does something regardless of if you have a Joust one or not. I mean, depending on what kind of deck you have, you aren't always in a 50% chance of winning a Joust. Maybe 40% or sometimes higher, but a 2/3 weapon for 2 is okay, but it's not wonderful. It's okay in a paladin deck because it fills a niche for a weapon, but there's also Coghammer for 3, which is a 2/3 for 3 that gives a minion Taunt and Divine Shield, which is arguably better, but I'm sure it will see some use somewhere. Hello, Convert! A card I'm going to have to try and fit into my Priest deck. Do you like that minion that your opponent has? Would you like a copy of it for your own? Just play this card on it, and you can! You just put a copy of it into your hand, which is actually almost better in some ways than copying it with a Faceless Manipulator, because if it has a Battle Cry, you get it too. It costs 2 mana, it does give you another card, but if you really want what they've just dropped, you can have it, and all you need to do is pay 2 mana and put a card. You're basically paying 2 mana to get one of his minions and swap it out. Really good card, looking forward to using that. Looking forward to my opponent playing an Antique Healbot, and me running out of health, and me just going, I'll have that, I'll keep it for later. Looking forward to that one. Okay, next one. What have we got? Normal, rare. Another rare. Another King's Elec. A Bone Guard Lieutenant. Would you like a 3/2 that constantly gains health every time you use your hero power? I wouldn't mind one. Here it is. Play it on turn 2. As a 3/2. Hero power and it becomes a 3/3. Hero power again and it's a Spider Tank. Hero power again and it's a Blackwing Technician. This card, if you don't deal with it, will keep getting powerful. Just think of it, for instance, as a play it on turn 2. Then your opponent plays a 3-2. Then you hero power something, like say you're a mage, you ping a 2-1 and kill it. You hero powered and it's now a 3-3. You can trade that into your opponent's 3-2 and it's still alive. And if it remains alive next turn, you hero power and it's now a 3-2 again. If you don't deal with the Bone Guard Lieutenant, it's gonna spiral out of control. Spider tanks are nasty. This can one day be nasty. Hello, Knight of the Wild! We're getting lots and lots of Druid cards. This is a 6/6 for 7. Stat line not fantastic. Does avoid the big game hunter though by being a 6/6. Whenever you summon a beast, reduce the cost of this card by 1. Free charging Stone Tusk Boars, everyone, for everybody! Or not. You could see this being they're really pushing the whole Beast Druid deck. And this is a card that does it. Suddenly you're going, okay, Malorn now costs 1 less. Your, let's see, a Stampeding Kodo is now a 3/5 for 4. That's really good. This card basically goes, you're paying more for a cheaper minion. In return, we shall make it so that if this survives, you're rewarded by making your remaining minions cheaper. All you need to do is get, like, 1 minion cheaper, and suddenly you've paid for the cost. Because then a 7/7, a 6/6, sorry, for 6 effectively, because you've reduced the cost, is not terrible. Good card. Will encourage a Beast Druid deck. Here's Power Word Glory. Choose a minion. Whenever it attacks, restore 4 health to your hero. Oh, I can see this being used on Northshire Clerics. I can see this being used as a really anti-aggro mechanic. Stick it on something really nasty and make it just attack and keep restoring health. It forces somebody who's playing a deck that's trying to rush you down to kill a minion, or at least silence it. Because this is a 1-mana card. This is a 1-mana card. You could play a Northshire Cleric, and you could coin out Powered Shield on turn 1, and then he starts playing his Rush Star minions. Then you play Power Word Glory on it, and say, another Power Word Shield. Suddenly, you have a 1/7 that whenever it attacks restores 4 health to your hero. They're going to have to deal with that, or just try and outrace you, and if you're healing for 4 health every time you attack, and you're drawing cards by using this to trade minions and heal, your opponent is going to run out of steam before you are. It's almost like a 1-mana soft taunt. Kill me before I heal my, the hero for 1 billion damage. You see that being interesting. And there's another North Sea Kraken. Pack number 5, or 6 I think, yeah. Normal, 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 and epic. We'll save that till last. Hello, Pit Fighter! Here is one of the vanilla cards they're adding in. A 5/6 for 5. That's it. That's all it does. It's a 1-mana more expensive Pit Lord that doesn't hit you in the face for a lot of damage. It's a nice, sturdy, dependable card that will do the job. It will hit things. It has 1 more health than Lotheb, no flavor text, which means silencing it is useless. Not a bad card. Gadget Zan Jouster. Yes. If you win a joust, it becomes a zombie chow with no health restoration. But that's only if you win a joust. If you don't win a joust, this thing is a 1/2 for 1 with no flavor text. I suppose the benefit if you joust is that you reveal you get revealed one of your opponent's cards, which can give you a clue as to what they're playing. But admittedly, they also get to see one of your cards as well, which is not a great thing. So, not entirely excited about this one. The joust, if you win, yeah, you get a 2/3 for 1. But if you don't win, it's a 1/2. And there's the other one too. Now I have 2 of them. Hello, Orgrimmar Aspirant. A 3/3 for 3. There are a few of these actually 3/3 for 3 cost minions in the game now. Inspire. Give your weapon +1 attack. Play that on turn 3, and then on turn 4 play a Fiery War Axe, an armor up, and your weapon gets +1 attack. Interestingly, your weapon gets +1 attack before effectively you attack, because ideally you want to attack first and then armor up, because your health is finite. You only get 30, but your armor is infinite. This actually says if you use a weapon and save it, or if you attack after you've armored up, it's more powerful. Interesting card. Can see that being used. Could easily, here's a weird one, you could see Upgrade. Being like, I have a 1/3 weapon. And you now have a 2/3 weapon for 3 mana. You've gained 2 armor, you've made it a 2/3 weapon. So you could coin this out on turn 2, and then upgrade armor up on turn 3! Or not. It's a thought. Ooh, Magnetar Alpha. A warrior epic. It also damages the minions next to whomever it attacks. It is a miniature version of Foe Reaper 9000. And that's a nasty card. You're like, haha, he's protecting things with a taunt minion. I charge this thing into it once it's been placed down. 5/3 for 4. It's a little weak to being killed by things. It's also a disincentive to play lots of minions. You put this down first, and he's like, I will flood the board! Yeah, now he's going to kill everything. And he will kill everything around it. It would be better if it was... On one hand, it would be better if it was a 3/5 for survivability. But it being a 5/3 means that it will actually do more of what it's meant to, which is kill things. Good card. Not sure I'll see many people play it, but good for clearing the board. Okay, next one. What have we got? Normal, another epic, and a rare. Here's that other totem. What if your Tuskar Totemic makes this a 3/4 for 2? It's effectively the Shaman's version of a Spider Tank, but he can play it on turn 2 instead. He pays the 1 mana cost next turn, but it's played on turn 2. Imagine, if you will, that Totemic summoning this. It's a 3/2 that summons a 3/4 sometimes. Nasty. Not a bad card. I can see people using this. I could also see people using Thunderbluff Valiant, which Inspire gives your totems +2 attack. Suddenly that Taunt totem is a Frostwolf Grunt. Suddenly that 1/1 is a 1/3, and next turn it may even reach the lofty heights of a Magma Rager. Not a bad card. It's a 3/6 for 5, though. That's not wonderful. If you swap the stats around, that's a 4/5 for 5. But if you played it on turn 7 and you have a board full of totems, suddenly they get +2 attack. Suddenly your Manatide totem is a 2/3 that draws cards. If you have a lot of totems on the board, this is not a bad thing. Also, for instance, it will do the hero power and then it will do the Inspire. So if you have a totem, it makes a totem, and then it buffs it to give it +2 attack. Suddenly your hero power is making 2/2s that heal all of your minions for 1, or 2/2s with spell power. You're basically spending 2 mana to get a Kobold Geomancer every turn if you get a spell totem. Not bad. Maiden of the Lake. One of the key things for this expansion that does hero powers is, now your hero power costs 1. It costs 1 mana. It means it fits in so much better with various curves and like mechanics of switching things out in terms of your basically your tempo. Now it costs only 1 mana. Really good. There are other cards that synergize with Maiden of the Lake too, and as a 2/6 for 4, it's got a nice sturdy body, it's gonna stay on the board. Play it on turn 5, you can still use your hero power. Not bad. Captured Jormungandr. It's a beast. It's got 5/9 for 7. That's it. A nice vanilla card with the beast tag. Some synergy with Druid, some synergy with Hunter. Not a bad card. Got a nice Big health body. Imagine taunting that up with a Defender of Argus. Hello, Stable Master. Ugh. 4-2 for 3. Battle Cry giveth friendly beast immune this turn. If you're really desperate to save this beast from being killed, this is the card for you. A 4-2 stat line is not the worst, Big Game Hunter has it, but Big Game Hunter kills a minion automatically with 7 or more damage, or 7 more attack. This makes a beast immune. I can't think of many beasts at that point in the game that you want to make immune. Maybe, no, actually, I really can't. A Razorfen Raptor, maybe? It's not the best card. Bestial Wrath does a better job, because it gives +2 attack and immune. But this brings out a 4-2 on the board. But it also doesn't give the bonus attack. I don't see many people playing this. I really don't. But, as I say, I could be definitely surprised. I probably won't be playing this. Watch me eat my words when I eventually play this. Okay, next one. Normal, normal, rare. Oh, 1 rare. Another Maiden of the Lake. Nice to have 2. Bash. Would you like a shield block that doesn't actually give you as much armor, no card draw, but deals 3 damage? Not many people do, apparently. This is not a particularly popular looking card. It sort of does damage and protection. It doesn't draw you a card. It doesn't give you 5 armor, but it does deal damage. But you're paying 1 more for that. What would you normally be playing on turn 3 as a warrior? Perhaps an Acolyte of Pain. Or perhaps you'd be armoring up, or you'd be doing a Cruel Taskmaster and Execute. Or you could play Bash. It sort of does too much for too much cost. It's like, it deals 3 damage, it gains 3 armor. It'd be better if it was like, people would play it if it was deal 4 damage, gain 2 armor, but probably be too powerful. Or deal 2 damage, gain 4 armor. Probably also too powerful. It's sort of middle of the road and yet doesn't do much. Lance Carrier! Remember the old days where Dark Iron Dwarf and Abusive Sergeant permanently gave attack? It's back. This time it's on a 1-2 body for 2. It basically is a 3-2 for 2, with the exception that it gives +2 attack. It's actually entirely the same as an Abusive Sergeant in a way, because most of the time, when you use that, you're going to kill a minion with it. If you're going to go face, however, and the buff persists, that's when it might be a little bit more useful. Otherwise, it's a swapped round stats Abusive Sergeant who costs 1 more. But if the minion survives, then the Lance Carrier comes into effect and is more useful. There's another Power Glory. Here is an Armoured Warhorse, a Jouster. If it wins, it's a 5-3 for 4 with charge. That's awesome. If it loses, it's a 5-3 beast, which is less awesome. There's the risk for you. Put loads of expensive minions in, you can get a nasty charge minion that will kill a 5 health creature. Not bad. But if you don't win, it's sort of meh. Haven't got some of the more interesting Joust ones yet. There's a rare. No legendaries yet. There's another Bone Guard Lieutenant. There's another Orgrimmar Aspirant. Here's another Tuskar Totemic. Is this entire pack going to have nothing but cards I've seen before? No! Here's Demon Fuse. It's like a Demon Fire, but 1 stat better, and it gives your opponent a mana crystal. If you're really desperate to deal +1 more damage, here it is. But you better hope that that mana crystal really doesn't benefit your opponent. Actually, not a bad card to see when you're all at 10 mana, because giving your opponent a mana crystal is irrelevant at this point. But it's not that good. It's kind of rubbish. But I'm sure I will see it destroy me on more than one occasion. And here's the Fallen Hero for the Mage card. It's a 3-2 for 2. Not a bad stat line. Your hero power now deals 1 extra damage. I imagine that would also synergize with, say, the Hunter hero power if this card was stolen somehow. But now your hero power deals 2 damage. Play this on turn 4. Put a 3/2 on the board. Deal 2 damage. Play Maiden of the Lake. Now it's a 1 mana, deal 2 damage. That's pretty good. Could see this getting a lot of play by people. What else have we got in this massive pile of cards? Oh, an epic and a rare. Another Dalaran Aspirant. Another Orgrimmar Aspirant. A Silent Knight. Have you wanted a minion that will stick on the board no matter what your opponent does, short of Twisting Nether? Here it is. It has Stealth, like a Shade of Naxxramas, and Divine Shield, so if he board clears, it's still alive. But it's a 2/2 for 3, and it doesn't get stronger like the Shade of Naxxramas. If you really desperately need a minion on the board to do some sort of combo, here it is. Also, it's not a bad way of putting down a Divine Shield so that a Blood Knight can steal the buff. Unless he board clears, he can't hit it. Or Flame Walkers. Or Flame Cannons. But even then, a Flame Cannon, you've only got rid of the Divine Shield, you've not got rid of the minion. Not bad. Hello, Void Crusher! A 5/4 demon for 6 that can destroy a random minion for each player when you use your hero power, including itself. If you're really desperate to kill a minion, here is your card. Hope you have a lot of minions on your side so that this doesn't kill itself. Hope it doesn't kill the thing that you were requiring to win, like Ragnaros. Really variable card. But if your opponent only has 1 minion and you have 7, odds are in your favour. Hello, Frost Giant! I was wondering if I get one of these. It's a giant, so it's a nasty creature. Every time you use your hero power, it costs 1 less. No matter if this is in your hand or not. So you use your hero power 8 times in the battle in a match, and this comes in your hand, it costs 2. And a 2 mana 8/8 is nothing to complain at. It's nothing to complain at all. I'm pretty sure if you return this to your hand as well, it will then still cost 0. Nasty creature. Doesn't necessarily work with handlock, because they like to draw a little and then not a huge amount, so they'll be using other giants, I wager. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Let's have a look. Evil Heckler. It's a Booty Bait Bodyguard for 1 less mana. One of the few examples of a card that is just better. This card is just better than the Booty Bait Bodyguard, but it's a common and not a basic. You could see it get some play. If it was a 4/5 taunt for 4, that would be too powerful. But a 5/4 for 4, not bad. Another Warhorse Trainer. Another Druid of the Saber. Another North Sea Kraken. And a Tiny Knight of Evil! A Warlock card, 1 of 2 in this one that actually synergizes with discarding things. If you discard a card, this thing gets buffed. A 3/2 demon for 2, nothing to complain at, if you don't compare it to the Flame Imp that hit you in the face for 3, but if you discard a card, say with a Succubus, or with another card that's coming up, hopefully, this card gets buffed. It's like, hey, you're being risky and discarding cards, have a benefit for doing so. You might see a few more decks that focus around discard mechanics. Would be interesting if that were the case. Okay, next one. What have we got? Normal, normal, normal. An epic and a rare. Another Undercity Valiant. Another Warhorse Trainer. Another Bone Guard Lieutenant. Another Polymorph Boar. A Kodo Rider. It's a 3/5 for 6, which is awful. But it summons a 3/5 every time you hero power. That's okay. If you can keep this thing alive, you can flood the board for 2 mana with 3 5s. Now, how's that for spawning out dangerous minions? Downside, it's a 3-5 for 6 when you could be playing a 6-7 Boulder Fist Ogre. But if you can keep that thing alive, you are in the business of basically flattening your opponent with 3 5s on command. You see that being stealth sometimes.